Hello everyone and welcome back to the FIDE Grand Prix. It's a game between Boris Gelfand and Nepomniachtchi. Two of the classical games between the two of them have been drawn, and this is the second game of the Rapids. The first game was won by Nepo, and now Boris needs a win with the white pieces to get back in the match. Before we check out the game, I would just like to ask you one question. I've been contacted by the Lichess team. They asked if I was interested in joining their new it's called team battles. So for example, we form a team. Let's say 100 of you are interested, we form a team, we name the team, and then we enter the team battles. And then I don't know, maybe Jerry from Chess Network will form a team, maybe I don't know, Eric Rosen will form a team, and then we're gonna have it's a new mode. I have no idea how it works, but I will put a link to it in the description below where you can read up about it if you're interested, and if you want to join our team, which still doesn't exist. But if some of you guys will be interested, we can form a team and then we can participate to see if maybe it's going to be fun. And basically, the way it works is, let's say there are teams of 50 players or maybe 100 players, and then only if the team has 100 players, only the scores from the 20 players who do the best count. So not the scores of all 100 people count, but only of those who do best. But I think it can be decided up front whether it will be the top 10 scores, top 20 scores, top 50 scores. Like I said, it's a new thing on Lichess, so if you guys are interested, I will put a link to it. The first thing you will see in the description below, read up about it. And if you're interested, I will pin my own comment asking whether you're interested, and then you can just, leave a like or say I'm interested, and maybe you can even suggest a name for our team. So that being said, let's check out the game. And also we have this very nice photo, courtesy of Nikki Riga, official photographer of the FIDE Grand Prix. There you have it, Nepo against Boris Gelfand. It's from the game where Nepo had the white pieces, but still, just so you get in the mood. You can see that Nepo still is rocking his bun, and Boris looking good as always. So let's check out the game. Boris with the white pieces opens with knight to f3. So the Reti opening is on the board. We have knight to f6, c4, and g6. Nepo prepares to fianchetto the dark square bishop, knight to c3, and now bishop g7. We have e4, and here the well-known pawn sacrifice with e5. It's only a temporary pawn sacrifice, but it results in some excellent game, and it's a really interesting line, especially for a rapid game. So knight captures on e5, Nepo castles, and now there are known moves in this position, bishop to e2 and the knight to f3. But Boris goes for f4. He needs to win this game, so he can't afford really to play passive moves, and it is already as of move 6 that we have a completely new game. So d6 by Nepo pushes the knight back, knight to f3, and now knight captures on e4. This is how you win back the pawn. Even though it's a temporary piece sacrifice, we have knight captures on e4, and now rook e8, pinning the knight. Next move, you're going to capture it, well, like this. So d3 defending, and now just f5, attacking the pinned piece. Bishop e2, there's no way of saving the knight. We have f captures, d captures on e4, and now knight to a6 by Nepo. Going for rook captures on e4 is impossible due to queen d5 check. Picks up the rook, or you can just bring the rook back, but then knight g5 again attacks the pinned piece. And you don't have c6 to kick away the queen because just knight captures, and the next move you're going to capture black queen as well. So we have knight to a6 by Nepo. The knight is now coming to c5. We have castles and knight to c5. An excellent square for the knight. You cannot kick it away due to the rook being hanging on a1. So f5, Boris starts the attack. G captures on f5, and now knight to g5. Like I said, Boris needs a win, and he's going all out here. And now we have queen to e7 by Nepo. It's important to keep an eye on the e6 square. For example, if you play something like knight captures on e4, again, queen d5 check is deadly. And now you don't really have a good move. You can start giving up pieces, or you just run into a smothered mate after knight f6 check. For those of you who are perhaps new to chess, I will just show what a smothered mate is. So king g8, now you deliver a double check here with the knight and the queen. If you go here, then queen to f7 is mate, so you have to go to h8. Now you sacrifice the queen. Rook captures is the only move, and now knight to f7 is a nice smothered mate. So, danger lurks all around. We have queen to e7, grabbing more control of the e6 square, and now bishop to h5, pushing the rook back, rook to f8, and now queen d5 check. We have bishop to e6 blocking, and now knight captures on e6. And now you cannot capture right away. If you recapture, just pawn captures, attacks the pinned piece, and you lose a piece, and it's game over. You could capture with the queen, but still e captures on f5 is very strong. Queen captures on d5, c captures on d5, and well, white is just up a pawn in an endgame where he also has the bishop pair, so it's a really good position for white. So instead, we have c6 by Nepo, pushes Gelfand's queen away, but Gelfand continues with bishop g5. There is no turning back here. Here we have queen captures on g5. Now, again, offering the queen for c captures on d5. We have queen captures on c5 now, eliminating the knight, so a lot of queens hanging for a very long time. And now, if d captures on c5, then just knight captures on g5. White is up a piece. Of course, completely winning, so Nepo goes back, queen e7, and this is how we win back the piece. Now, the white queen has to move, queen back to f2, and then now comes queen captures on e6, just grabbing that piece. We have e captures on f5, and then now queen captures on c4. So the material is equal, and Nepo threatening bishop d4 to win the queen. So king h1, and Nepo does the same, king to h8. You don't want your king on this, exposed diagonal. And now queen to g3. If you try something like rook 8 to e1 to not waste time, black might even grab a pawn. You could go rook to e6, hope to execute f6 at some point, but it's a really tough position to play, especially for Gelfand, who is very low on time. Also, the b2 pawn is now hanging. The bishop protects that as well, so white doesn't have time for something like this. So instead, Gelfand goes for queen to g3. Puts pressure on the d6 pawn, and now bishop to e5, just pushing the queen away. Queen to h3 now, rook to f6, and now bishop to g6, preparing to deliver checkmate with queen captures on h7. Now queen back to g8, the only good move for Nepo, and now comes rook 8 to e1. Still, Gelfand was very low on time here, and this is a very tricky move. The crucial line to find here is g4. g4, and now if queen to d5 check, it's not a problem, just rook f3, and the queen has to go back because queen captures on h7 will be checkmate. So here after g4 you would have to go rook back to f8 because g5 is coming. You're gonna push g5, and now you just continue playing this where you definitely have chances. However, Gelfand played a slow move, and now Nepo played rook 8 to f8. And with the rooks doubled on the f-file, g4 is no longer possible, because now black has a tactic, queen d5 check, and after rook f3, yes, you are threatening mate, but now black has rook captures on g6. That's the problem, because after pawn captures, you eliminate the rook with check. Queen captures, rook captures, and now black is just up a piece. So, after rook a to f8, we have rook to f3, a nice rook lift by Gelfand, and now king g7. Now, again, reintroducing the threat of h captures on g6. Bishop back to h5, and now Nepo grabs a pawn. Queen captures on a2. He says, you have nothing here, and Gelfand tries to trap the queen. Rook to b3. Well, not to trap the queen, but to not allow the queen to enter the game. Now the threat is rook captures on b7 with check. However, I will just show it, even though it's a rapid game and Gelfand was very low on time. Rook to g3 is the crucial line to find here. Even though it doesn't give white any decisive winning idea, but it just creates a whole lot of problems for black, and probably where white should have gone for some chances. For example, bishop captures on g3, now rook e7 check, rook blocks, rook 8 to f7, now you play queen captures on g3 with check, and after the rook blocks, now you play f6 with check. That's the thing you had to find, but you know, who would find this? King captures, now queen captures on d6 with check, king goes back, queen e5 check, and now we would most likely see a repetition here. But it's a really complicated position, and every move introduces a series of lines that are possible where you can go wrong. So it's hard to say what could happen here. But here it's most likely a draw after queen e3 check, king goes back, queen e5 check, if king to g8, then just rook e8 check. You make some room for your king, and with the black king being so exposed, you can't really lose this as white, but you could maybe win it. But okay, Gelfand goes for the different line. Rook b3 goes after the b7 pawn, and it's a good move because if b5 or something, rook a3 attacks the queen and threatens rook captures on a7, which would come with check, and perhaps you could deal some damage there. But Nepo goes for rook captures on f5. He says, I'm not interested in any of that. I'm just gonna play rook f1, and this will result in a checkmate. So rook captures on b7 check, and now king g8. We have queen to g4 check. Rook to g1 was also a possibility, just eliminating any mate ideas, because, well, rook to f1 is still a mate threat. Gelfand cannot afford a slow move. King h8, you don't have mate since the bishop nicely covers the g7 square. But now rook captures on h7. We have king captures and now bishop g6 check. If you start with the queen, after king to h8, you don't really have a move here. If you check, king goes here. If you check, bishop blocks, and again, the mate threat is there, and you're just down in material. So after king captures on h7, bishop g6 check, we have king h6 now, and here bishop captures on f5. So Gelfand wins back the material and threatens mate here. So Nepo, only one good move for him, queen back to g8. We have queen to h3 with check. Queen to h4 was perhaps a bit better because it covers the f6 square, which could be very important for the black king later on. But like I said, Gelfand extremely low on time here. King g7 and now rook e4, threatening rook g4 check to pick up the queen. King to f6 and now comes rook g4, attacking Nepo's queen. We have queen to d5 by Nepo, now threatening mate after queen to d1. So rook g6 check, king to e7, and now queen to h4 with check. If you try something else like queen to h7, rook f7 just blocks, queen to h4 check, bishop f6 just blocks everything, and now you're gonna have problems. If queen e1 check, you're gonna block with queen to e5, and if captures, you're just gonna capture back, and you get this position where it's a draw. There's no arguing about that, but Gelfand needs a win. He can't afford to play the best move. So it's just one of those cases. So queen h4 check from Gelfand, king to e8, and here again you have to defend against mate. Gelfand plays queen to h5, defends mate, and also threatens some very nasty discoveries here. So you are Nepo here. Feel free to pause the video and try to find the only good move for Nepo in this position while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finding such a nice slow move with the king. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's king d8. This eliminates all of white's threats. There are no nasty discoveries here, and there are no useful moves here. Gelfand played queen to g5 check here, but it was also the position where Gelfand resigned, as there is nothing, well, there's nothing more for white to do here. Problem is, black can do pretty much anything. Black can just block the check and then deliver mate next move, and it's extremely hard for white to prevent this. If you go back queen g4 to guard the mate square, just rook e8. Now you have to defend against this mate, and there's really no good way to do it. You can't give your king any breathing space. If you move the queen, then you lose the bishop. If you try h3, then just rook e1 check, king h2, and bishop e5 check, just wins on the spot here, and now rook h1 is mate. And if you don't, after queen to g5 check, if you don't even feel like calculating what happens after bishop f6, you just move the king c7. And again, white has no ways of continuing the attack. If queen g4, guarding the queening square, just rook captures on f5. And, I mean, if you capture, then it's mate. If you don't capture, now the rook can also deliver mate. You cannot... You can't really move the bishop, as if you move the bishop, then rook to f1 is still mate. So after queen g5, Gelfand resigned, and with this resignation, Boris Gelfand is out of the FIDE Grand Prix, and Nepo advances to the higher parts of the tournament. So that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, I was really hoping we get a nice game by Gelfand, and we definitely got a nice game by Gelfand. You know, a very interesting line, a lot of pieces hanging, then queens hanging, then everything is just hanging. A beautiful game of hanging queens, if you will. So that's, like I said, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Latif Traore, Mark Slatcher, Will Walcott, Rohan Polidano, and Matt Beckwith for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the FIDE Grand Prix, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions, and whatever else happens in the chess world. And don't forget to be a part of the subscribers video, and if you're interested in joining the chess team battles and lead chess, do check out the link in the description below and my pinned comment. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.